Am I the asshole for favoring my scapegoat brother over his golden child twin sister? I, 20M, has two younger siblings, Joe and Jill. They're twins, both 18 and graduating high school this year. Jill is my parents' favorite, because they've always wanted a daughter, while Joe is their scapegoat, because I guess he's the bonus baby they never actually asked for. I'm mostly better off than Joe, as I'm the oldest grandson from both sides of my family, almost all of whom are just as blatant as my parents are about their favoritism. I felt really bad for Joe, so I did what I could to make him feel less alone. Like when Jill got to go shopping with mommy and daddy, I took Joe skating with my friends. When our parents were too busy watching Jill's kitty pageant, I dragged my best bud to sit through Joe's elementary school musical. Small things like that. It all started as pity moves, but soon my friends pretty much liked Joe better than me, while Jill's princess syndrome got in her head, so now I spend more time with Joe because I simply like him better than Jill. Never said it out loud, but I don't make it a secret either that I prefer not to spend my time with entitled brats. Anyway, like I said, they're graduating soon. They both already had their choice of college, accommodations, etc. Jill's going to a Union SF, fully funded by her parents, unsurprisingly. Joe's going to the same uni as mine in Seattle, but different campus just 20-ish minutes away. He got a full ride, which apparently makes him ineligible to get any financial help from his own parents. This is also hardly surprising, so I made some calls to ask around, see if anyone is hiring next fall. I did this while on FaceTime with Joe. I was reassuring him that we'll find him a job that don't suck and pays enough, that he's better off without dad's money anyway because we both know it comes with strings attached, that this way, mom and dad wouldn't be able to stick their noses into his purchases. I got him to feel better about the whole thing and logged off. I guess Jill overheard, because the next day she sent me texts after texts demanding I help her find jobs as well because she doesn't want dad nagging her. When I told her, politely by the way, that I don't know anyone in SF, and that she'd get more help from mom and dad, she blew up, saying all these things about me favoring Joe over her, which, yeah. It's true. I love both of my siblings, but I don't particularly like Jill. It's not like she's making herself likable, though, so am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for what I said after my husband commented on my flat chest? My husband Jared and I have been married for 3 years. He's currently out of work, used to work at a high-paying job but got kicked out the company over a fight with a co-worker. And I'm the one paying for rent and utilities. We dedicate some time to see his family weekly. They don't know he's unemployed because he thought they'll see him as a failure, especially his mom, so he told me to keep it a secret. Last night we were sitting eating dinner at the table. His cousin was talking about his fiancée going to Brazil to do a boob job. Jared asked if he was serious, then flattered fiancée sister-in-law's boobs, saying they're perfect and that he didn't understand why she'd get a boob job. He then turned to me, stared at my chest while I was eating like an idiot. I have a flat chest. I'm insecure about it but can't do anything about it obviously, and said, hey, why don't you get a boob job? You're the one who needs it the most. His mom gasped and was like, Jarrett? I said it's fine. I then turned to him and said I'll get a boob job. His mom gasped and was like, Jarrett? I said it's fine. I then turned to him and said I'll get a boob job once you get an actual job since you've been unemployed for 6 months now. He stared at me in disbelief. His mom began questioning him about being unemployed and he denied then admitted it was true. It got awkward with his mom scolding him and others shaming him for it and for hiding it. He got so overwhelmed he went outside and stayed inside the car till I came. He started yelling at me repeatedly, you couldn't have held your effing tongue? And accused me of turning his family against him and having them juggle and shun him. Now he can't even step a foot in their house from shame and guilt. I argued that his comment about my chest was insulting. But he said he was giving me a piece of advice and that there is nothing wrong with him wanting me to look pretty and that he said what he said out of support and encouragement. But what I did was the complete opposite and that it was intended to hurt him and I succeeded. He dropped me off at home then went to stay with his buddies. I called him later thinking he calmed down but his friends said he didn't want to speak to me and I should give him space. Am I the asshole for not being happy that my sister is pregnant again? Throw away because I don't want my family tracking this back to my main. My sister got knocked up by her boyfriend right out of high school, got married the next year, then proceeded to pop out another baby every year or two, so she has 4 now at 24. She's a stay-at-home mom even though she was brilliant and could have gotten a free ride to a great university. Since hers are the only grandkids, our parents fawn over her like she's the next coming of Christ. They gush over every new tooth or haircut like it's some huge achievement. Problem is, her husband's business wasn't great even before COVID, and is barely limping along now. Sister doesn't work, and my parents have limited income. So guess who's constantly being told to lend them money for shit like school fees, car seat, car payment, new stroller, etc. They don't even ask. My mom just texts me your sister needs $X20 for the kids and I'm supposed to cough up. If I complain, they accuse me of being jealous because I don't have a husband and family even though I'm older. I'm only 26. So over Easter I notice my sister isn't drinking and I think, oh God, here we go again. Sure enough, she stands up and announces that she's been. So over Easter I notice my sister isn't drinking and I think, oh God, here we go again. Sure enough, she stands up and announces that she's been inseminated with yet another precious miracle. Everyone's gushing and I just try to stay quiet and out of the way. Later she asks me if everything's alright and I try to play it off but she pushes, so I asked her if she and her husband could really afford another baby. She very snippily replies God will provide like he is so far, which really pissed me off. I yelled that no, actually God didn't provide for her babies, I did, and I wasn't going to giving them any more handouts. It devolved into a big argument with everyone shouting at me. And basically I've been banned from my family unless I apologize. I haven't apologized. It's been radio silence except for one text from my mom saying that if my sister miscarries it's my fault for stressing her out. I asked if my sister was showing any symptoms but no one will answer or tell me. I don't know. I don't think I'm the asshole but I don't want to be the reason she miscarries. Also, I think I might be the asshole because secretly I think it would be better if she did even though I wouldn't say that to her. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my fiancé and taking my heels off at our engagement party? My fiancé, M31, and I, F26, got engaged several days ago. This is relevant, he's tall and I'm in the 5s category, pretty small compared to him and his family. He asked that I wear high heels at our engagement party since there was going to be photos. Although I wasn't comfortable, not a fan either, with high heels, I decided to wear them just for his sake since he begged and pleaded. And also since he promised I would be sitting most of the time. But at the party he had me stand for hours to welcome the guests, there were like 20 guests, with him. I got so tired of standing and my feet and legs were on fire. I asked if I could sit but his mom said I'm the fiancé and should stand next to my partner not just sit like the party had nothing to do with me. I told my fiancé again that I was in so much pain but he said suck it up, it's almost over. I had enough of it, I took my heels off and let my feet and legs cool off. He and his mom looked at me in utter confusion. Several of his family and guests saw me barefoot as well. He freaked out asking what I was doing. His mom asked that I put my heels on but I said my feet were done and I couldn't do it anymore. My fiancé begged me but I stood there till it was over like he wanted. The minute I got in the car he flipped out, saying I embarrassed him in front of family and friends by standing there barefoot and refusing to put my heels back on even after his mom repeatedly asked. I reminded him that he said I wouldn't be standing but turns out it wasn't true. He argued that for someone with a height like mine, then I should wear high heels more often, and said should have sucked it up for his sake. He went upstairs and turned his phone off and refused to speak to me. I had no intentions of embarrassing him and I do feel I should have sucked it up. But I think that he wasn't truthful about how long I was expected to stand. Am I the asshole? Added he doesn't usually care if I wear high heels, and said I should start considering wearing them from now on out because most women wear heels at big occasions like weddings and engagement parties. Am I the asshole for walking out of the baby shower my in-laws threw for me? The situation is kind of a mess. I, F27, am expecting my first baby with my husband. This is the first grandchild in the family, in-laws, and they said that if the baby's a boy then we'll give him my father-in-law's name. He's dead due to cancer. I had no problem with that. This happened before we found out the gender of the baby. My husband and his family had me do things like attend prayers and do other rituals before the reveal at the doctor's. I didn't like that but went with it to keep the peace. Doctor appointment came, and it turned out to be a girl. My husband cried in the car then turned his phone off to hide from his family then finally told them. His mom and the others made their frustration and disappointment clear which bothered me cause my daughter deserves to be celebrated but they ghosted me for days then started coming over and visiting constantly referring to my daughter as my son claiming the results were false and basically pretending it's a boy. I had severe fights with them after they refused to stop it, and my husband sided with them despite seeing how wrong and unreasonable what they were doing was. We didn't speak for a while. Sister-in-law called to apologize then informed me she arranged for a baby shower for me. I was so excited and sister-in-law called to apologize then informed me she arranged for a baby shower for me. I was so excited and happy. But when I arrived I saw blue balloons, blue cake with father-in-law's name/decorations around. I was so confused I had to sit down. Sister-in-law explained they were still hoping the gender results are false and it's a boy. I looked at my husband and he agreed with her. I lost my temper and yelled at them all calling them delusionals and telling them to stop treating my daughter like she's unwanted and act like she doesn't exist by throwing a party for their imaginary grandson. Mother-in-law break down crying. I took my bag and walked out immediately. They started yelling and my husband followed me outside and started arguing about how I insulted his family, and his dad's memory by acting like that. I told him to wake up and see the insanity in his family's behavior. He said they needed time to process the fact that it's a girl not a boy as they expected and insisted I play along and they'll soon get over it. I said absolutely not and demanded he take me home. He said no, so I called an Uber and left. He was fuming. He called 15 times, then texted that he won't be coming home till I get my ass over and apologize for ruining everything they've done for me and accusing them of being mentally unstable. I haven't responded yet. He's constantly pressuring me to get right with his family before we even talk about anything else. My son unknowingly saved me from ending my life last night. I was about to do it. And it would have been the biggest mistake. My wife died a few months ago. Thinking that this was going to be my first holiday without her. Well, I got drunk. Really drunk. And all I'm thinking about is I want to go with her. I couldn't stop crying. And I was gonna do it. My son called me. He just finished decorating his apartment and he wanted to say hi. It made me smile. He had no idea what I was in the middle of and just casually talking to me about having to sweep up the floor after he dropped and broke a glass ornament. Was so desperate not to get off the phone with him. Asked him to tell me about his day. Meanwhile I'm there trying not to let him hear me cry. We talked for over an hour. Then he invited me to come spend Christmas Eve with him. When I got off the phone I fucking lost it. I couldn't do it anymore. Right now that I'm more sober, and hungover, it hit me how big of a mistake I almost committed. I was about to leave my son without another parent. He just lost his mom and I was about to take away his dad too. He's 19 and out building his own life. But still I couldn't believe I was about to leave him alone in this world. He saved my life. What is your best insult, without using curse words? I bet your parents change the subject when people ask about you. Your mom tells you not to call her mom in public. You're difficult to underestimate. You're not the dumbest person in the world, but you better hope they don't die. Stolen from Bob's Burgers. If she was a spice, she'd be flour. You're as useful as an ashtray on a motorcycle. Having you around is like losing 3 good friends. You're a great conversation topic. Not when you're here but when you leave. What is the worst place to make love? Behind the Popeyes on West Avenue in Philadelphia next to the garbage bin 100%. In a beehive. On a beehive. Near a beehive. Depends if you're a bee. I may be. Apparently my bedroom. No action in a while. The back of a Volkswagen. My funeral.